Hello everyone, I just thought I'd run you through a process that I use to make my own beeswax foundation. Now as you can see at the moment, I have beeswax that is being heated up and melted in a container of water. You may notice that I'm using half a beer keg, which seems to be just about the right size for this process. I've got a gas burner in underneath, and my aim is to get this beeswax molten but not boiling, and you may see a little bit of steam actually rising off the surface at the moment. This wax should be melted in about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I will start using a dipping action with a couple of paddles to get a flat sheet of wax. The paddles are pre-soaking at the moment for about 5 to 10 minutes in some warm water. Now that water is slightly soapy and it's normally heated to a temperature of about 35 degrees Celsius. At the moment, as it's a cool morning, I'm using water of about 40 degrees. Now as I start dipping wax sheets and placing those wax sheets in the water, the temperature will be maintained. I need the sheets of wax to be reasonably warm when I run them through the embossing roller, because they will be brittle. About 5 minutes down the track and the wax is starting to melt nicely. It won't be long and I will start stirring this mixture. It's important that I do not get it to the boil, as I can damage the wax, but I will also move around any impurities as well. I want those impurities to stay down in the water column. The wax is now molten and we're ready to get started. As you can see, there is no impurities on the surface of the wax, and I have the paddle soaking in water. What I will do is I'll just lift those out one at a time. I'll place a coat of wax on each of the paddles, and then I will reverse the paddles and I'll put a second coat on before I release them. Here we go, our first dip. Place it in on a slight angle, roll it into the wax and hold it for 4 or 5 seconds. Start drawing it out, quickly turn it over, and as you can see, a nice flat sheet. I'll place that on the bench and then I'll go and grab my second paddle. Again, I just give it a quick wipe to get rid of the bubbles of water. Lower it into the wax. Hold it for 4 or 5 seconds. Turn it over and there's my second sheet. At this stage, my first dip is now dried. I will reverse the paddle, place it into the wax, roll it, take it out, and that is my completed sheet. Perform the same task with the second paddle, roll it out, and there we have it. All I have to do now is release those sheets off the paddles and they are ready for the embosser. I normally trim the long edges, invert the whole paddle into water, give it a lift, and the wax should release. And there we have it, our first sheet of wax. It's still nice and soft and pliable because it's still warm. That will stay in the water for about 10 minutes while I make about a dozen sheets, and then we'll take those to the embossing roller. Okay, ready to run the sheets of wax through the embossing rollers. I just put a little bit of soapy water on the rollers so that they don't stick to the wax, and then I take my sheets. Now, as you can see, the sheets are quite soft and pliable, but I do have to be quite quick with this process. As the sheets cool down, they become brittle. And there we have it. You may be able to see the shape that's impregnated onto that roller. We keep on repeating this process until all 12 sheets are run through the embossing roller. The final task. To trim the sheets up, I just use a piece of plywood as a template and a pizza cutter, and I trim the surface off the outside edges, and we end up with a nice clean sheet of foundation of the size needed to put onto the frames and go into our hives. And that's the whole process. Thanks for watching, everyone.